Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Nikolai. Today I'm here with Thal, who is the Guildmaster of Elves of the North. How are you doing, man?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know, Elves of the North is a very interesting guild on Emerald Dream. They are a Blood Elf only guild, and I love that aspect, man. It's very cool, and I wanted to know how exactly did you come up with that? I'll do it. I'll check out your transmog, and you can kind of explain the story of it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, back in Warlords of Draenor, there's two. When I created it, there was two reasons behind that. The first was when I first joined ED, Emerald Dream, in Mists of Pandaria. I was just a guildless, alliance player, and I was in Stormwind City, and I saw a bunch of dwarves parading through Stormwind, and I thought that was a really cool aspect of a racial-only guild, and it was Clan BattleHammer, so shout out to those guys. So they were one of my inspirations to create an elven version of that. And then I watched a movie called, I'm sure you're familiar with it, the Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies. And in one of the big scenes there, you have all the elves versus all the dwarves. And so I'm like, man, I gotta. After I saw that, I'm like, I need to create an elven version, like a big, just military style RP guild of an elven army. So we role play as the official SilverMoon City army. And again, the background of the guild is we're RP World PvP. So that's us. Yeah.
Okay, and I introduced you as Thal, but your full name is Thalissius. Is there one that you prefer, or is there one that people call you mostly?
Yeah, I mean, Thal is kind of like, for short, and it kind of started internally with the guild, and, less syllables, right? And then the rest of the server, kind of adapted to that too. So I'm known primarily as Thal, but some people still call me Thalissius. It doesn't matter either way, really.
Yeah, less syllables, and when World PvP gets crazy, it's just you're just trying to spit out any kind of name just to transfer any kind of information you can.
Right.
Well, I was checking out your guild banner while you were telling us the story, and the Phoenix is on it. It's definitely like Silver Moonish. I love it. Is there a backstory to this?
Yeah. So everything with the guild, we want to dive into that RP aspect of it, right? Number one being a racial guild of elf only, and then number two, following the guild color themes of Silvermoon City and things like that. Kind of like these NPC guards you see behind us, we kind of transmog all in, familiar colors with Silvermoon City of black, red, gold, and that banner there represents the Phoenix, which is the rebirth and the meaning behind the blood spilled in the Third War for the Blood Elves and their sacrifices in the Third War. And then the red and gold are obviously the colors of, the primary colors of Silvermoon City and the clothing and things of that nature of the NPCs and everything with that.
Yeah, so when you actually just mentioned the NPCs, you were like, yeah, our colors like the NPCs. All the NPCs actually turned. Even the NPCs are, listening to you, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they know their High Lord is present, so they're at attention.
Another cool thing to think about is, like, if you're out in the world and, in the distance you see like 40 to 50, blood elves all wearing the same colors, all unified. It looks super clean. It looked super intimidating. I think this was an awesome idea, and I got a lot of respect for you, for thinking about it and then implementing it. It takes a lot of effort, to bring that idea to life. So
yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Our even our guild ranks internally are all based on rankings of blood elf nature and things like that, and so we try to keep a lot of the RP into it. So we're definitely considered an RP World PvP guild.
If you're watching at home and maybe you're not a blood elf, they may be able to make an exception for you. Earlier this expansion, Battle for Azeroth, just came out recently, and with Battle for Azeroth, new races were added to the game, one being Nightborne. Is it true that your guild, Elves of the North, officially accepts Nightborne?
Yeah, we did. At first, I didn't want to, but then I saw a cinematic at the end of Legion that showed the Blood Elf leaders basically accepting the Nightborne into the Horde. And so I used that as justification from a roleplay standpoint to accept Nightborne into Elves of the North. And so, yeah, we do have a lot of Nightborne in the guild now, too, including some of our officers switched over to Nightborne. So, but to be clear, Elves of the North refers to the north of Eastern Kingdoms. And if you open up the map, north of Eastern Kingdoms, the very northern end of that continent is SILVERMOON City and the Blood Elf, the woods and the territory. So that's what the guild refers to, for those who don't know. But yeah, primarily we're still Blood Elf, a majority guild, and all the RP behind the guild is Blood Elf.
Blood Elves can be, tanks. Like, you're a warrior, but they can also be priests, and they can be rogues, and pretty much anything. Do you find that you're lacking a few classes in your guild just because of how specific the requirements need to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, we struggle with like in large scale world PvP. If we do that, or even raiding, we struggle with the lack of AOE heals from druids and shamans. Obviously, they can't beat Blood Elf or Nightborne. So,
oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
we struggle with that, but we make up for it with monks and priests and pallies, and we still are very strong. But yeah, it would be great to have druids and shamans in the guild. But I think one of the biggest things of the guild that makes it so great is the strict rules of no exceptions, of having only Blood Elf and only Nightborne. So I think back in WoD we did allow like an ambassador rank, and we'd allow non-elves in, but could only be up to 10% of the guild. I changed that when I remade the guild in Legion. I took that out. So I think it really took away from the guild and the whole purpose behind it of being a racial guild. So
that's cool. I kind of like that ambassador idea. It's kind of like, yeah, they're a troll, but they still kind of represent, because there's kind of exceptions even like within the game. Like sometimes you may see like a human in Orgrimmar or just something like that.
Yeah.
But you kind of covered it a little bit there. A few players were wondering, Elves of the North have disbanded a couple times, and could you kind of give us the reasoning behind that? What exactly happened?
Yeah, sure. And that's a great question. A lot of people hear rumors on, as we know, Emerald full of rumors. But basically, it was for IRL reasons. I had to step down in WoD. I actually did not disband. I passed the GM over to a council member, which is basically a co-GM. But that was to go back to school and finish my bachelor degree in cybersecurity. And then Legion, early Legion, I came back, but I was still in school and I was working a full-time career, easily 50, 60 hours a week with travel. And I tried to recreate the guild. And a lot of the officers were unsubbed at the time. It was kind of just me. And I realized with the lack of time I was on WoW, I was on WoW maybe like 5 hours a week. So I ended up, disbanding it after maybe 3 weeks or so. And then I tried it again a couple months later, like mid-Legion, same result. So I said, you know what, instead of trying to force this thing, I'm going to wait until I finish my cybersecurity degree and come back really strong. And so that's what I did. So at the end of Legion, I came back, with more time to commit to the game and recruiting as a GM, and now here we are. So I remade the guild in April 2018. It's now September 2018, and the guild's back at pretty much almost 1,000 members. We have all the original council/officers back, so the core is back, and we're stronger than ever. So
that's a cool story, man. It's kind of like how every time you kind of came back a little bit stronger, and now it seems like you're in a great spot. You have over like 900 members now, don't you?
Yeah, we're around 950, and if we're going to cap soon at 999. And then we start phase 2 of recruitment, which is basically where I start removing people who haven't been on for over a month or 2 months or something like that, and making room for new active players. So
Yeah, totally understandable. When you're running out of room, hey, gotta trim some fat, right?
Right. And I'm not a big fan of creating a secondary guild. I think it's just unnecessary. If you filter out the inactive people in the guild, I don't think you're really going to have enough to. There's a few exceptions maybe on the alliance side, but for my guild, especially being a racial guild, I don't think I'll ever need to make a secondary guild. So.
Wow, that's really interesting to think about. Having so many members, you would need a secondary guild. Like, I don't know, maybe it could be like Elves of the South or the East or something like that. Maybe another major elf city. I'm not sure if there is one lore wise in the game, but maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
We just talked about how the guild disbanded it, and you covered it very well. Emerald Dream has a Twitter aspect to it, where the players have Twitter accounts and they use that to communicate or post screenshots, stuff like that. You did have a Twitter, but it appears that you no longer do. What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so back in WoD expansion, I had a Twitter, and Twitter is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's great as a GM of a World PvP guild to go, hey, here's screenshots of us killing a rival, Alliance World PvP guild, and you can kind of glow, and it and promotes that rivalry with the Alliance World PvP guilds. And by the way, shout out to all the Alliance World PvP guilds out there for giving us content, right? Because as a Horde World PvP guild, we need that. We need rivals. So shout out to all the rivals, first of all. But yeah, Twitter is a double-edged sword because we can promote World PvP. It's great for recruitment, but then you have the toxicity, the drama. I like to use the analogy that Emerald Dream is kind of like high school all over again. And I'm 28 years old. I don't want to go back to high school. But basically, it's all the guilds are kind of like cliques, and it's very cliquey and a lot of drama, and a lot of people like to spread rumors and treat it like high school all over because maybe they're bored. I don't know. But basically, I got off Twitter because if you took a teeter-totter, right? The side of the drama of the teeter-totter was way higher, and outweighed the benefits of it, right? Like the promoting of the guild and sharing screenshots of killing rival guilds. So for me, I'm a very drama-free person. I hate drama. There's no drama in Elves of the North, by the way. I severe it right away. So we have no toxicity, no elitists, no trolls, no egos in this guild. But yeah, basically Twitter, it's a great thing, but it's also a very bad thing. So I got rid of it because of the amount of drama outweighs the benefits of it. And I don't plan to go back on it either. I get a lot of questions, especially from guildies. Hey, Thal, are you going to get back on Twitter? No, I'm not.
That time and energy could be invested back into the guild, and that seems like what you're doing. Very mature decision, and honestly, I can't really argue with it.
It's not bad, for regular players, right? Like ED players. But if you're a GM of a World PvP guild on Emerald Dream, you're a big target. So I eliminated that. I actually was banning a lot, blocking people on Twitter, but it was just not enough. I had to actually just delete it. It just wasn't worth my time.
Yeah, I had to close down shop, and whatever. The option's always there. If tomorrow morning you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a Twitter, cool, it's there. You're not banned. That
Right.
It didn't go out on bad terms. It was your own decision. So
Exactly.
No harm there. And you mentioned that you are a World PvP orientated guild. I'd be curious to know, do you have any particular strategies that you use or that you'd want to share with the people watching?
Yeah, so I have a few strategies in my book, that I like to do. I don't really see other guilds doing it, but basically my favorite one that I like to talk about is back in Warlords of Draenor when World PvP was in a pretty decent spot. We had World Defense Channel. The phasing starting wasn't as nearly as bad as it is now with cross roamers, which I really don't care for killing cross roamers. I like the more of the community aspect. But basically, the strategy was I like to mix it up, right? We'll have sometimes we do World PvP 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and some days you can't do the same thing over and over. Is my point, okay? If you do the same 40-man or whatever, some members will start to get bored. They might leave your guild, things like that. I like to switch it up. So even if we had 30 to 40 elves in one group, for example, in WAD, we would meet up in Westfall. I would split them into groups of 5 to 8, and we would hit Westfall, Lakeshire, Darkshire, Goldshire, all at the same time, and just imagine the World Defense Channel spamming for the Alliance. I know they loved it because we got a really good response from a lot of the Alliance World PvP guilds, and even just randoms too that wanted to participate. But we were creating content for them, and I know they liked that. And it was a really fun time for everybody. So that's I call that a multi-pronged attack. It switches it up, and it was a really fun time. And we're actually still experimenting with BFA World PvP, but we have this very similar tactic where if we have 30 elves, instead of like hitting Borealis, which has immune guards, so that's very annoying. You literally can't kill them, by the way. They're completely immune. And if you get 5 of those in just following your raided group around, it's very, very annoying because they do hit pretty hard. So what we do, instead of just hitting Borealis or something, we'll still hit Borealis, but instead we'll split up into groups of 5 to 8 again, and we'll just take over the entire zone, like Tiragard or Stormsong Valley. We'll take over we'll split up and just camp the entire zone for an hour or so, and then maybe we'll go hit Goldshire. Or another tactic that we've been doing lately, which is really fun, is we get 30 elves or around there, and we go and fly right into the Stormwind City auction house room, and we just set up camp there. And there's always about 50 plus Alliance in there, and we wipe them out right away because they don't see us coming. We just go mass cleave build. We wipe them out, and then place banners at the door so they can't see us, and then we'll grip anybody that's in line of sight of the door. We then hug the sides of the room so they can't actually range DPS that are outside the room. They cannot hit us. So they actually have to. We force them to charge into the auction house, Stormwind City auction house room, to kill us. Normally we can last about 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes, unless maybe one of the bigger Alliance World PvP guilds like Pride of the Alliance or the Alliance Empire. If they come in, sometimes Warbringer, they're very strong. They're smaller, but they're very, very strong. If they come in, sometimes they can wipe us pretty easily in comparison to randoms grouping up, right? So those are some strats I'm willing to share. But I hope that the World PvP strats that I provide is fun for the Alliance rivals, and they have a good time defending their cities or just zones.
That's so cool. I like how, let's say it's 12 noon, everything's fine, sun's in the sky, not a single cloud, and then 12:01, boom, 5 different, little spots are kind of on fire. You guys, split up, take on different things, and it's very hard to kind of handle 5 fires at once. They may be able to take care of 1 or 2, but yeah, very exciting stuff, and it happens very quick, so they need to band together, right? Or else you just kind of hold down that entire zone.
Yeah, they need to coordinate or just outnumber us. Normally we wipe because we get outnumbered. We can't bring 80 people. we're a racial guild, right? Even with 2 races like Nightborne and Blood Elves, we can't supply 80 elves like some other guilds can supply 80 people like pretty easily. So we're more like our core is around 30 to 35 normally. On a really good day, we can maybe pull 50. But again, we're a racial guild, so for us to even be able to pull 30 to 40 of all one race or 2 races now, Nightborne and Blood Elf I think is very impressive. I think we're doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because they can get any player who plays the game, but you're looking for just that specific crowd. So definitely tougher for you guys to bring the numbers.
Right.
I thought those strategies were really cool. I kind of want to talk about some stuff outside of the game for just a moment.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned like you were going back to school, and I'm going to school right now for computer science, and you went for cybersecurity. Did you always start as cybersecurity, or like I've switched a couple times and it happens, it's normal. But did you start doing a different major and then you found out about cybersecurity?
That's a good question. So basically, I started in IT. I went to college for computer information systems for my associates, and then switched over to cybersecurity for my bachelor, and now I'm pursuing my master's in cybersecurity and leadership. But basically started in IT, and then cybersecurity started getting bigger. It used to be called InfoSec, which is information security. Now it's the new buzzword for it is cybersecurity, and the amount of jobs for cybersecurity. Number one, they pay really well in comparison to regular IT jobs, and number two, it's they're in demand. So I went ahead and switched over to cybersecurity. Plus, it was a field that I really had a lot of interest in. I went ahead and got my degree, and now I have a career in cybersecurity directly. And what I do I can only share so much because of NDA, but I work from home, so I'm on WoW a lot. But remote. I basically cyber defense for hospitals across the country of the United States, and I basically protect the infrastructure of hospitals from a cybersecurity perspective. And the number one goal for that is to protect patient safety. And what I mean by that, to elaborate here, is if you have mom or dad getting a brain surgery or a heart procedure on the table, well, a lot of those medical devices, they're IoT, which means they're on the network. And if it's on the hospital network, it can be hacked. So that's where I come in as a cyber defense blue team kind of dude. I come in and I secure and harden that infrastructure.
That's reassuring to know that, in a worst case scenario, if mom or dad does need like an operation or something, somebody's there watching out, for making sure the tools are, working as they should, making sure everything's working properly, at least in one respect. But that's really cool, man. Very interesting. And I'm actually taking in a cybersecurity class now, and I've been reading my textbook. So we should definitely make another video later on. Maybe we can just talk about the general subject of cybersecurity, just kind of bounce a few ideas around and kind of leave work separate. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot for work, a lot of cybersecurity interviews with different vendors, so I'd be glad to do one with you.
Great. Well, I'll definitely take you up on that. So, as far as other Blizzard games go, we actually found out that we both play StarCraft, and correct me if I'm wrong, but StarCraft was your first Blizzard game that you played, is that right?
Yeah, so it was back in 98. I was 8 years old. I'm 28 now. But yeah, StarCraft 1 was like the first computer game I got introduced to from a neighbor. I just fell in love with the game, and it kind of got me into computers too growing up. And once I played my first Blizzard game, again, StarCraft 1, I kind of got hooked on their games, and I eventually branched off the Diablo series, and then Warcraft, and then WoW when it came out in vanilla. So I've been playing WoW since I was 14, so 14 years since vanilla. And back in vanilla, I led 40-man raiding guilds at the age of 14. I started in 40-man raiding guilds as a raider, and then I learned how to lead and raid lead, and then I started raid leading. So one quick note there, I always talk to my guildies about this, but leading a world PvP guild is so much easier than leading a 40-man vanilla or even TBC pre-Kale nerf 40-man raiding guild. That was a drama fest because loot was so scarce, so it was very difficult. But yeah, going back to StarCraft. It's a great game. I still follow it now. I still watch WCS, GSL, things like that. So.
Yeah, I was actually just watching WCS today, before our interview, actually. And there's a lot of cool players, and foreigners are definitely stepping up. I'd say South Koreans are still probably the best at the game. My favorite South Korean is probably Maru. But my favorite foreigner, I guess you'd say, is probably Cyril right now because he won GSL versus the world. Who are some of your favorite players, and what race do you play?
So I play Zerg. I thought I was going to be a Terran player. I really like the story and lore behind Terran, but I hate Protoss, always have. But
same,
for Zerg,
same.
Yeah. For Zerg, I just loved the play style. I loved how mobile they were and their units and how fast they were, and I just loved that play style. So I did Zerg, and my favorite players. I'm not much of a Korean supporter because they dominate the StarCraft world. I like to support the foreigners, so Stefano, Scarlet. Those two are, and then Idra. He doesn't play anymore, but I was a big fan of him too. So yeah, those are the three that I probably off the top of my head that I enjoy watching the most in a tournament.
Very cool, and yeah, those are really good players too. It's just a great game, man, and Protoss has been OP since the very beginning, and if you played StarCraft Brood War like I did, there was the 6 pool where pretty much you could get 6 Zerglings into your opponent's base like within a minute or two, and that's really why I started experimenting with them, just because I'm a Terran player at heart, but I do really like the Zerg too. I think it's cool how they can spread their creep across the map, and the fog of war gives me a ton of anxiety. So if I can spread the creep and I can at least see what's coming my way, that gives me a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, definitely.
But I appreciate you making some time, man. You're a super cool guy. It's finally nice to meet the legend. I've heard so much about you and your guild through my other interviews. Do you have any general shout-outs? I know it's impossible to give a shout-out to everybody, but do you have a couple shout-outs to give out?
I think, Himanshu shouted me out in his video, so I think it's fair that I shout him back. But to him, keep it up in law school. He gets a lot of heat for disbanding Warsong Battalion, but I just want to show my support that I think he did the right thing. I don't think anybody else could have led Warsong Battalion like Himanshu did. I also think there's only one person that's better at World PvP leading than I am, and that's Himanshu. So I just want to say, as someone that had to quit WoW and disband their guild or pass down GM, which I did, for IRL and for school or for career, I think Himanshu deserves all the credit in the world for, dropping WoW and disbanding the guild to focus on his IRL career and schooling. So shout out to Himanshu on that. Shout out to all of the rest of the Horde and Alliance World PvP GMs. Without you guys, we wouldn't have any content, right, as a World PvP guild. So please keep it up. I know right now the game is in a bad state for World PvP with all the phasing and sharding, cross-realmers, no World Defense Channel. I know it's bad right now, but let's just keep our heads above water, keep World PvPing as much as we can, maybe even coordinate if we need to, and collaborate. But I'm hoping in the near future that Blizzard does fix the, makes ED in our, takes away the sharding and the phasing, so we can be a community again like we were in prior, and bring back World Defense. It's in the talks with Blizzard and Blue Post from what I've seen. So just shout out again to those people. Thanks for doing what you do, and no matter if you're a rival of Elves of the North or not, just keep up the great work, because without Alliance guilds like Pride of the Alliance, the Alliance Empire, Warbringer, and others that I can't recall on top of my head, just keep up the great work, because without you guys, we would have nothing to do at Elves of the North. So thank you.
You're a very honorable and humble dude. It was a pleasure to meet you and have this interview. I also want to give a shout out to the Silvermoon City Guard over your character's left shoulder. I accidentally clicked on this guy probably like 3 times, and I feel like he deserves a little bit of a shout out too.
Yeah, that one's our most elite, and that's why he's in the front. So you better be careful.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much at home for watching too. Catch you next time.
Thanks.